This is the time of 1940. In Texas, black and white people used to fight a lot at the start of the film. Black people couldn't talk to each other. They couldn't do their work, their business. They had to work for white people. Taking their house was the biggest problem for them at that time. And similarly, there was a boy from a family, Bernard, who had a story. Bernard polished his shoes in front of the banks this time, not because he needed money, but because he wanted to become a banker. He wants to open a bank. He wants to do his business. His dreams are very big, but because of being black, he couldn't be admitted to a big college. He used to do as much knowledge as he could by staying here. He used to polish the shoes of people leaving the bank very slowly so that the white people would stay with him for a long time. At that time, all the banking-related things he used to say, after he left, Bernard used to note all these things in his diary. He even used to listen to the talks of the bank manager. And one day, while doing this, he was caught. His dad also explains to him that you are seeing very big dreams. Everything will break and scatter, but Bernard knows how to fulfill his dreams. The scene cuts and we see Bernard again after 15 years. At this time, he has a wife and a son, with whom Bernard has shifted to Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, so many black people are not discriminated as much as in Texas. That's why he decided to do his business in Los Angeles. As soon as he came here, he stayed at his relative's house. But Bernard still promises his wife that he will take his house here soon. The next day he goes out and visits the whole of Los Angeles to see the houses that people wanted to sell, which he was able to buy. At this time, he noticed that the black communities were completely occupied. That is, there was no place to live. 2 families were sharing one house. But on the other hand, there were a lot of empty houses in the white communities. Noticing this, he gets a business idea. He thinks that this is a very good opportunity for him if he buys a house in the white community and sells it to black people. He sees a building here that has a lot of apartments. This condition was very bad because no one lived there. That's why Bernard goes and meets the owner of this building. He tells him that your property is so useless, you are not getting any benefit, why don't you sell it? If you want to sell it, I can buy it at a good price. For that building, I am ready to give you $35,000. $30,000 is now in cash and the rest of the $5,000 when all the apartments of that building will go on rent. Bernard's idea was great, but this man did not want to do risky business. During these talks, he sees the calendar kept by this man, which was given to him by a bank manager. Seeing him, Bernard says goodbye to this man and wants to go to the bank from there. He met the manager who sent the candor to the bank. However, the manager's secretary does not like black people, so she does not keep Bernard's meeting with the manager. As a result, Bernard has to stand outside the bank for hours and wait for the manager to come. As soon as he left the manager, he stopped the manager. He tells the manager, I know your potential customers. I want to do business with them. If you give me a loan, it will benefit your customers and so will you. But the bank manager refuses without thinking. At night, he got a call from the same businessman to whom he had tried to take a bank loan. And he was asking Bernard about this. Bernard also knew that what he did was wrong, so he apologized. Surprisingly, this man did not call him to scold him, but he appreciated Bernard's efforts. After not listening from one place, he did not leave his efforts. He kept trying to fulfill his goal. He tells Bernard that I am ready to be the guarantor of your loan. Hearing this, Bernard's happiness was not satisfied. For the first time in his life, he got a bank loan from which he invested in his real estate business and bought a building. Now when Bernard is renovating the building with a colleague, an old lady comes here and gets angry at him and asks, what are you doing here? Bernard answers very slowly that I am doing a job here. In response, the proud lady says, do it carefully, don't ruin anything. Then Bernard tells her, don't worry. This is my building and I will take good care of it. After hearing this, the old lady leaves and in a short while, the police come here. The police tell Bernard that the old lady has called him here because you are claiming that this building is yours, although you know that this is a community of white people. Bernard was probably ready for this situation from the beginning. That's why he had all the legal documents of the property with him, which he showed to the police. And the police also believed that this property was his. The police had left from here, A few days later, when Bernard was coming to this building again with a lamp, the old lady said, "What time is this?" In response, Bernard says very slowly, "I am not a renovation worker. I am the owner here." Saying this, he had gone to his apartment and the old lady had fallen in love with him. A few days pass and the old lady leaves the building because she does not want to live with black people in the same building. As soon as he leaves, he gives his apartment to a non-black lady. Now, as he knew before, in Los Angeles, the market for black people is very big. As soon as he sees the property, all the apartments in his building are rented out. After that, he also returned the money to the owner of the building, which he had made pending. Along with that, he had also paid off the bank loan. This man was very happy with Bernard's ability. He now offers Bernard to do business with him. What could be a better opportunity for Bernard? He joins hands with him. With the investment he has given, they buy another building. After renovating it, they also rented it out. In the real estate market, everyone saw Bernard's business partner at the front. He was a white man. There was no problem in doing business with him. And as much as the profit came, these people used to divide it in half. After this hard work, along with his apartment, he also bought a magnificent mansion where he had moved in with his family. But everything has always been going well. This is not possible in this world. Challenges had not yet ended in his life. A few years later, Bernard's business partner dies, and all his shares in Bernard's company go to his wife. But his wife also did not like black people like the rest of the people living here. She did not want to work with Bernard anymore. She tells Bernard to sell all his shares to me at a low price. Otherwise, I will sue you. Bernard knew very well that the way black people are discriminated against here, the judge would also support the same lady. But still, he wanted to take revenge for his insult. That's why he refuses to sell the shares. Now, even if this case goes to court, to win this case, Bernard needed someone who knew about the business deal between Bernard and his business partner. Then he remembers the same bank manager with whom he had taken a loan. He immediately goes to meet the bank manager. But he sees that the widow of the businessman, i.e. his wife, has already met the manager. The helpless Bernard was now standing in this building and looking around. There were banks all around this building. And in every bank, such discrimination was found for black people. This is how black people were humiliated. All the 4 banks in this building, all humiliated and discriminated against Bernard. Standing up, a very good idea comes to his mind. He thinks, why don't I buy this building? Then I see how the banks here humiliate me. But the problem is that he still didn't have that much investment. He now meets a big businessman from Los Angeles real estate. Fortunately, he is also from their community. Bernard gives him his business proposal. As soon as he heard about buying the bank's building, Joy's laughter was gone. He thought that perhaps Bernard was crazy, because the price there was too high. Also, no black man had ever bought such precious land in Los Angeles. Bernard answers all his questions here. He tells all the calculations of how much land he will buy and how much profit he can get. How he bought the land. After hearing all this, Joy knew that Bernard was a smart person, not an emotional person who was already understanding him. In the end, Bernard also told him that if we buy the bank building, then all the existing banks there will work for us. Otherwise, we will have to give favors. It will be easier for us to get such investments, and our real estate business will move forward very easily. Bernard's idea seemed very amazing to him. He appreciates Bernard and says, I have a lot of money, but I never thought of such an idea. Despite having so much money, I have always worked for white people. But now I will work with you. There was still a problem. If he had bought the property, he needed a white man to communicate with the community of white people, that is, to convey his message. Bernard says, don't worry, I have that too. Bernard had a mask in his work. He was white, honest, and hardworking at the same time. Bernard and Joy together start preparing him for their plan. They teach high-class people how to sit and stand, teach them how to play golf, and also explain the business model of real estate. All the calculations that someone does before buying or selling a building. He learned all this quickly. And now, according to his plan, he was playing golf very well and was also able to calculate real estate. In this golf club, you get a mask in honor of the bank building. Joy arranged this meeting according to a plan. Mast succeeds in impressing him while talking to this building owner, and so he had a chance to buy the building. But now Mast was very upset because what he had done so far was all Bernard's plan. If he had to deal with it later, how would he do it? Then Bernard tells him, "Don't worry, I'll teach you everything." At night, Bernard counts the lights of this building and calculates how many offices and spaces there are here. After calculating their final share value, he tells Mast to keep all these figures in mind. He also told Mast how to calculate this figure so that he doesn't get confused there. The next day, when Mast has a meeting with that businessman, they talk about the evolution of the building here. Here, the figures given by the businessman's accountant, Mast, were always one step ahead of those figures. This thing impresses the businessman, and the businessman gets ready to sell his building. After buying this building, Bernard and Joy's position had become very strong. A small manager of a small bank in this building had created so many difficulties for Bernard. He was also surprised to see that every president of this building's bank used to come out of his office and greet Bernard. Because of the support of these banks, Bernard and Joy's real estate business is developing a lot. Both of these efforts greatly reduced the discrimination of black people in Los Angeles. The position of black people had become very strong. They could easily buy a house in Los Angeles, and now the business opportunities for them had increased a lot. People started liking to work with them. Many buildings had been built in which black and white people lived together. Bernard and Joy make so much progress in their business that the white president of the city himself comes with them and takes pictures. After so much progress and success, Bernard goes back to Texas to meet his parents, where his dad is proud of him. Bernard takes his son to the city and also takes him to the bank where he used to sit and polish his boots. Even today, a child was polishing his boots there. But Bernard sees that he is not polishing the boots of black people. He is polishing the boots of white people because white people are respected here. Even today, seeing black people being discriminated against and humiliated here, he was very sad. And now he had thought in his heart that to end this discrimination, he would work to raise voices for black people. He now goes to his business partner, Joy, and asks her to buy a bank building in Texas. At first, Joy thought that Bernard had lost his mind, but when Bernard gave him evidence of how much profit he would get by buying it, Joy also agreed to buy it. As always, to deal with these white people, a white person was needed for whom he selected Mast. Mast goes there and talks to the owner of the building, where we learn that there are two owners of this building, a senior and a junior. The senior had no problem in buying this building, but the junior owner was feeling awkward somewhere, and he could not do much beyond the rest of his thoughts. After buying the bank building, these people also buy the bank here. And the black people living here started giving loans very easily so that they could buy their property here, do their business, and be successful like white people. Everything was going fine, but only until the junior started looking at the details of his bank loans. When the details of the bank came before his eyes, he was shocked to see that all the loans were being given only to black people. He now meets Bernard and Joy and threatens them that what they did was not good. The loan you have passed, you can also be arrested for it because they are all biased, they are for your benefit. He also threatened them that in the next month, the federal department would come to check their bank, and if there was any problem, they would have to go to jail. Hearing this, all three were scared. They did not understand how they got out of this problem. Then Mast gives them the idea that we should buy another bank. I will run that bank and we will transfer all these loans there. This idea was not very good, but for the time being, they had to do this because there was no other option. Mast starts running his bank and his lawyer unknowingly signs a lot of loan documents. Mast was now running this bank, but the problem arose when he found out that the people of the federal government were also coming to inspect their bank. And all this game was played by Osama Jr. Mast was very nervous. Bernard goes to relax by wearing clothes like a worker. And listening to the inspection team, he finds out that the lawyer had made a lot of mistakes here. He had approved a lot of such loans for which there was no legal reason. And so now his bank's license is seized. After that, he checks all the documents and asks him how such big mistakes happened. Was your lawyer inside? And then Mast tells him that this lawyer was selected by Junior. That is, all the games were played by Junior from start to finish. and he used Mast for his game. He just wanted to amuse Bernard and Joy. Now they had only one option: they leave this bank and shift somewhere else. But Mast did not want to leave his bank. So, not listening to Bernard, he takes a move here. He goes to the bank with Bernard. As soon as he comes to the bank, he asks for the documents of the bank from Mast. But before he left here, the FBI had arrived here. The documents are taken by him. The documents were named Bernard and Joy, and the FBI had caught them. After a while, we are shown that Bernard and Joy have met their lawyer. He was released on bail for a few days so that he could fight his case. But his lawyer tells him that it will not be easy for you people to fight the case here. I know the judge will decide in favor of the white people. On the other hand, Mast was also caught, but he wanted his freedom. For the deal, he meets the judge here. The judge tells him that you state your colleagues, I will let you go. And for this, Mast agrees. After which we see that Bernard also came to meet the judge. The judge gave him a deal that he should either give it to Mast and live a free life or give a statement in court and then go to jail. Bernard accepts the second offer. The next day, he states in court. He speaks in favor of his people, in favor of the black community, and how they struggle to live a normal life here. They should get their rights. After giving this statement, he went to jail. He lost everything for his community. His bank was found by Junior again. That too for millions. Mast, because he belonged to the white community, he was not caught in any crime. After which the story went on for many years. Today was the day when Bernard and Joy had to get out of jail. To take Bernard, his wife came. We see that unexpectedly. Bernard is so happy after getting out of jail, as if he has not lost anything in life. Nothing bad happened to him. Then Joy tells Bernard's wife the truth, that he has not lost any of his property. Bernard's wife asks, "How did you do all this?" Bernard says that one night before going to court, he got a call from Mast. Mast, who had stated to him that he wanted to apologize to him. And instead of apologizing, I just asked him a favor, that you sell all our property and invest the money somewhere else. He did exactly what we asked, and now we already have a big real estate set up, which he will run for the rest of his life. His life was going to be normal again, and this story ends here.